The challenges that the Indy cars face today. Now, let's take a look at the starting field. On the pole is Nigel Mansell. The current point leader celebrates his 40th birthday with his 5th pole of the season. Alongside Raul Boisel, the runner-up on the miles at Phoenix and Milwaukee. In row 2 to the inside is Scott Goodyear, his best qualifying run since he sat on the pole at Phoenix. And Paul Tracy, a 3-time winner on the IndyCar trail. In row 3 to the inside is Roberto Guerrero, looking for his first win on a mile oval since '87. And Mario Andretti, who has scored 18 victories on 1-mile ovals. In the 4th row is Scott Brayton, the 2nd straight week that he has qualified 7th. And Danny Sullivan has won only once on a mile oval. In the 5th row is Bobby Rahal, the defending champion of the New England 200. And Teo Fabi, it's been 10 years since he's won on a mile oval. In the 6th row, Jimmy Vasser, who ran 3rd on the Phoenix Mile in April. And Stefan Johansson, who made his oval track debut here a year ago. In the 7th row, it's Emerson Fittipaldi, his worst start on a mile oval since April of '88. And Robbie Gordon, he has scored 6 top 10 finishes this season. In the 8th row is Al Unser Jr. Only one of his 18 career wins have come on mile ovals. And Mike Groff, making his 4th start of the season. In the 9th row is Willie T. Ribbs. He ran a strong 10th in last week's Michigan 500. And Arie Luyendyk has won 2 of his last 5 starts on mile ovals. And in row 10, it's Olivier Griard and David Coudray. Row 11, Brian Till, Hiro Matsushita. The 12th row is Johnny Unser and Marco Greco, and alone in the 13th and final row is Jeff Wood. So now on the pit road, the IndyCar engines begin to sound off, balloons float into the air, and we are set to go with round 11 of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the New England 200. All right, the field has now begun to roll. We look at Danny Sullivan. Remember, he was not able to race a week ago in the Michigan 500 because of the flu. Last year's winner here was Bobby Rahal. The race is 200 laps. That's 211.6 miles, a very long distance for a 2-stop race, and that will figure into the tactics here today. Looking backwards to Raul Boisel from the pole sitter Nigel Mansell's car. Some of the onboard views that we will have for you as they scream around this mile here today. Over the shoulder of Raul Boisel, the PPG pace car, and the pole sitter just ahead. Danny Sullivan, not only do we have this over the shoulder, but we'll have some telemetry on board coming from Danny Sullivan's car as well here today. So now they begin to scrub the tires, get as much heat into them as they can, and are set to go racing on what could be a pivotal day in the championship. It could thrust Nigel Mansell way out in front, or it may give the opportunity for any number of drivers to close in. The weather here today, we've got 80 degrees. We had a chance of rain, but now they say no problem at all. Nice sunny skies and low relative humidity. A beautiful day in New England at a magnificent track. Great spectator track here. Plenty of sweeping grandstands so they can all get a nice view. Now on the backstretch, Nigel Mansell, Raul Boisel, as the rest of the field begins to align behind him. Mansell will pace the field through the 3rd and 4th turn as he now begins to pick up the pace. Already the pace car is headed down the pit road. Rest of the field nicely aligned. Mansell with a slow pace coming to the green flag now begins to pick it up just a bit. They straggle out a bit at the back as we go green, and they go 6 abreast in the back of the field as Mansell and Boisel battle. Scott Goodyear drops into 3rd place, moving into the 1st turn. Tracy moved to the high line. Scott Goodyear, the first one to test low on the track, but of course does slow at a much lower speed than racing speed as he comes up to full chat now. The yellow flag comes out.
Yellow flag came out, and obviously the starter did not like what he sees, or else there's debris out on the racetrack. If there's debris, we will see some of the safety vehicles take to the racetrack.
They indicate that there may have been contact in the 4th turn, and there may be debris down there, so they're going to send the safety vehicles out to look for it. There it is, as you see the safety team from IndyCar picking up part of a nose wing. The question is whose it is and how much difference will it make? So they'll send them around again. Derek, there in fact may be the answer. No, It's actually on the nose there.
Yeah, it's Marco Greco who actually made contact, and the pieces of debris that we saw coming off the racetrack, in fact, are from Marco Greco's car. We may see him also take a trip down the pit lane.
Take a look in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Jeff Wood and Marco Greco apparently got together, and there it is.
Apparently got together, yes.
Boy.
And now you're not supposed to pass anybody, so that was a little bit too anxious. But Greco, luckily, he didn't actually contact or make contact with the wall.
Focused down on the front of the field. When that happened, the yellow came out. He came around, got it into the pit area, and so we run under yellow. With Mansell, followed by Bosell, then Tracy, then Scott Goodyear, and Roberto Guerrero. They will now come single file around. The track is clear. We should be able to go back to green flag racing in just a moment. Let's go down pit side, Jan Beekes.
Well, talking about wings, Paul, take a close look at Raul Boesel's rear wing. He has what's called a cascade wing, and you'll notice that on Nigel Mansell's car, it has a single plane wing. What that means is that Raul Boesel has set his car up for more downforce in traffic. So wings could play not only part of this yellow flag, but the victory of this race.
But the cascade wing, Derek, that should mean more drag and therefore not as high a terminal speed.
Danny Sullivan ran this cascade wing during practice, and he was 6 miles an hour slower down the front straight here. He took it off immediately, thinking he was not going to be able to give up that much speed. Boesel reckons that during the course of these 2-hour races, if he can maintain the grip in the corners, he thinks he will more than compensate for that little bit of drag down the straight.
PPG pace car gives the signal one more lap to go as we look at Raul Boesel. The same signal coming from the starter stand. So on the 4th lap, we will return to green flag racing. Marco Greco spun at the back of the start. That brought out the yellow on the 1st lap. Lights go off on the pace car, a signal to the field behind that they will now go back to the green flag. And Nigel Mansell, for the first time in his IndyCar career, has led the opening lap on an oval. Remember at the Michigan 500, he was so powerful. Will that be repeated here today? He makes that turn off 4. Lessons learned, picks up the pace. And we go green again.
And of course, it's single file now because it is in fact a restart. Look at Goodyear. He stays high out of that line, trying to challenge and move up onto the Duracell car of Boesel.
Scott Goodyear moves into the battle for 2nd place as Paul Tracy makes his move inside Goodyear. Tracy working a groove a little bit down on the inside of Goodyear, now drops in behind. Battle for 3rd continues. Tracy moving to the inside now. He will run down on that slickened area.
And you have to be careful. You have to be so confident with the handling of your car to put all 4 wheels down into that white limey area. But Tracy looks very good. He looks quicker than Goodyear right now.
Paul Tracy able to work the low groove. If there was any concern about it, it should be drifting away now as he is able to keep pace and actually get a little bit ahead in the first corners on Scott Goodyear. But then Goodyear works 3 and 4 better and is able to get ahead of Tracy. The ongoing battle for 3rd.
And we saw a clear picture there of horsepower. Tracy was actually alongside, right through here, gets alongside Goodyear. And watch what happens. Look at this. Goodyear draws away. He's got more power than Tracy, or less drag down this front straight. And Goodyear does not have that cascade wing that Boesel has. That's why he's quicker down the straight.
So the ongoing battle for 3rd place continues between Scott Goodyear and Paul Tracy. The 2 Canadians at it once again. The 2 that have made this sport so incredibly popular in Canada now. Tracy looks to the inside. Paul Tracy, with his wins this year, used to be able to go anywhere he wanted in public with no problem. Now they know him everywhere in Canada, and they love him for making his mark in the IndyCars.
You're in corners for so long on oval traffic. You can afford to wait and bide your time. You don't have to jump and try and make an over-aggressive move. But look at Tracy, constantly has a little look down the inside of Goodyear.
You'll get a glimpse from time to time, too, of Mario Andretti and Scott Brayton. Andretti just moving around Brayton and able to close now on Roberto Guerrero in a battle for 5th place. As Tracy continues to worry Scott Goodyear. Front of the field, still Mansell and Boesel. They are not in contest with one another at the moment.
This is where the race is. Try and overcome a car that's a little bit faster down the straight. To do that, You have to be right behind him exiting the corners, but traffic can play a role here. Goodyear goes high and forces Tracy high.
And in doing that, they are both able to move up on Raul Boesel because the leaders, too, have begun to encounter this slower traffic. And Boesel is able to close just ever so much on the leader, Nigel Mansell. Jan Beekes has an update on Raul Boesel.
Well, Paul, Raul is dropping back, and his crew reports that he's picking up a little bit of push or understeer in turn 3 and in turn 4. That is also one of the things that added to him slowing down in qualifying. So it's a push slowing down Boesel.
Paul Tracy made the move to the inside, trying to push alongside Boesel. Boesel looks over, checks that left mirror again, because he sees Tracy in the battle with Goodyear. And Tracy's pushing down to the inside of Goodyear now. Look at this as they come side by side.
Great wheel-to-wheel stuff. But look, Goodyear is quicker down the straight again. Tracy cannot pull it off.
It's not much, but just enough to make a difference.
Johnny Unser's in trouble. He's traffic moving to the high side. He's in deep trouble. That may cause a yellow if he dropped a lot of oil.
Johnny Unser's car, you saw the display of vapor at the back of the car. That could also mean liquid oil. More than just vapor out on the race course. It may bring out the yellow flag, but this fight continues for third.
This is where the race is. Mansell still leads, but this is the race here. Now, as the race unfolds, this Penske chassis usually becomes more superior than the Lola Ford. Here he goes again.
Paul Tracy makes the move to the inside. And once again, Goodyear is able to work that high groove, but how do they come off the corner? Tracy has a nose on him. And Tracy will get his nose across the line first, so he will be scored up into third place, at least for that lap. And now he comes all the way past, so power finally did not pay off. Paul Tracy handling a little better going into the first corner.
Sometimes you have to wait. Paul Tracy made that move on lap 2, and it took until lap 15 before he actually pulled it off. But look at this.
Oh, they split around Hiro Matsushita, and now they're back side by side again. A dead heat to the line as Goodyear now pushes ahead of Tracy. Traffic again in front of them.
Willie T. Ribs is now in the middle, and Tracy gets the break. Tracy is on the inside, and Goodyear has to back off. Now Tracy's safely in the lead, but they're not out of the traffic yet.
If you're running back in the field, you really have to pay attention to the traffic coming up on you. Willie T. did. He saw the one car moved high. He couldn't move high enough to let both of them through. So Nigel Mansell is the leader, followed by Raul Boesel and Tracy. Back at the New England 200, Raul Boesel with Paul Tracy closing on him. And now, at the same time, it is Scott Goodyear splitting to the high side. Raul Boesel may be in trouble.
He has a lot of understeer. He's not quick into the corners. This is a look at Johnny Unser. We saw him smoking earlier on.
Let's go to the pits and Jan.
Well, you talked about the spray from the back of Johnny Unser's car, and you're looking at the oil-covered Chevrolet engine. They have a huge oil leak. I'm surprised it did not bring out a full course yellow. Johnny Unser, it's unlikely they can get him started back up again. What they're doing right now, trying to clean all that oil off and find the leak, fill it back up with oil, see if they can get him underway. Guys?
Back on board, Raul Boesel's car, who has now dropped to fourth place as Paul Tracy and Scott Goodyear both moved around, and Tracy and Goodyear are in pursuit of Nigel Mansell. So Boesel, who started in second, now dropping back to fourth and struggling with that car. Mario Andretti with Scott Brayton just behind him, a battle for sixth place, and Brayton challenging. Brayton trying to find room to the inside, traffic just ahead of these cars.
That's Ari Lyondike that's just ahead of him. Imagine Lyondike has to move out of the way. So often he's the leader, but Brayton trying to take advantage of Mario getting caught in traffic. Not close enough here.
Lyondike having a terrible day. He runs in 20th and already runs one lap behind the lead of the race. Mario Andretti, Brayton just behind him. Remember, Mario picked up the win on the mile at Phoenix, but only after leader Paul Tracy, who ran a full 2 laps out in front of the rest of the field, crashed, giving the lead over to Emerson Fittipaldi, who, when they came back to the green flag from the accident for Paul Tracy, had a part brake and went into the wall as well, giving the race over to Mario Andretti. So this battle breaks off. Let's go to Bobby Rahall's car and ride on the nose.
On this This is one of the best in-car camera angles you will see for a long time. Currently running in 9th position, not where Rahal wants to be. Watch him go over the line. Right there, gets slippery. You can hear he's off the power. Now he gets back on the power and drifts it wide up into the groove. But Rahal got this car very late, remember, doesn't have the type of test time other people have, and doesn't enjoy the type of success he did, particularly last year.
All right, at the same time, let's go to the front of the field and ride on board with Nigel Mansell. Traffic just ahead.
The key to Mansell on these ovals, I think he's very smooth. He's in the lead, adapting to moving past traffic. He still goes over the line also. That's a measure of the confidence he has in the car. But Mansell adapting and likes these ovals. And I have to tell you, he is very relaxed on these race weekends. Look at him gather up the traffic here.
Allenser Jr. just ahead. Mansell, we mentioned, celebrating his 40th birthday today at a little party back in the paddock area. His family is all here celebrating with him. He's still suffering a touch of what he believes is the flu from last week. Remember how exhausted he was at the Michigan 500.
And you saw a good example there, Paul, how quickly you have to make a decision. He went to the outside of Machusta. Machusta came out, then he went back to the inside of Ari Luyendyk. So within the space of one corner, he has to change the groove twice. Change his line twice.
Look how well the car responds to all of that. Seems to be able to put it anywhere he wants. Now Raul Boesel beginning to handle up Scott Goodyear and gets back around Goodyear. Remember, both Tracy and Goodyear got around Boesel. Now Boesel suddenly is back in this fight.
And he definitely got caught in traffic, and look at the traffic jam here that Mario's now caught in. He almost got boxed in there.
Mario had Olivier Griard down to the inside as he tries to work his way through traffic. Now we come back, Scott Goodyear and Roberto Guerrero. Guerrero able to come by Goodyear. So if it was Boesel that was having trouble earlier, perhaps now it's Goodyear.
Well, Scott Goodyear was not that confident after his full-tank run yesterday evening. He just didn't think he was as close at this mile oval as they were at Phoenix earlier this year, or even at Milwaukee. He didn't have that confident air about him, and maybe we're seeing the results of that lack of feel for this car, and now he's actually adapting with or coping with some problems.
Scott Goodyear scored his first and only IndyCar pole at Phoenix this year. Now struggling to get around this course. No other battles in the field. We say that as we see some cars overhauling for lap positions.
That's Mario still struggles to stay ahead of Brayton. Brayton very often can take advantage of traffic, but the problem is when the lead car passes, they don't always see a second car that might be right in his slipstream. But Mario's still enjoying about 6 car lengths on Brayton.
All of that. They moved around Teo Fabi, the bright yellow car, who is running in 16th place. And so just that quickly, much of the field is running off the pace. 11 cars remain on the leader lap, led by Nigel Mansell, followed by Paul Tracy and Raul Boesel. We'll be back in the New England 200 as Mario Andretti is in a fight. Scott Brayton just got past him. Now Robbie Gordon comes up to challenge as well, with Emerson Fittipaldi sitting just behind Gordon. Mario seems to have been in the thick of some sort of battle or another, with the exception of a couple laps right from the start of this race. A moment ago, it was Brayton that was able to move around him. And now look at Fittipaldi as he comes down onto that low groove. And Fittipaldi gets around Gordon and picks up 7th place now.
And the Penske likes that low groove. It has grip down on that tight line. He's going inside Mario also. So he has good grip down there, just like we saw Paul Tracy demonstrate earlier in the Goodyear fight.
So if there is any question at all about the quality of the track down low, I'd say it's gone now. One of the things most of the drivers seem to praise here is how smooth the surface is. Everyone seems to think really a nice track to get around. Nice and smooth. Ari Luyendyk is down in the race now. Let's go down to the pits.
Well, Ari, last week a 3rd place finish at Michigan. The car not responding this week. What's happened to put you out so early?
Basically just handling problems. The car is undrivable, and for me to stay out there and get in the way of everybody and myself. The team decided to call me in and call it a day, and I think it's a wise decision because on these tracks the speeds are too high to have to cope with a car that is very ill handling.
Sorry to hear that. We hope it's better in weeks ahead. Thanks, Ari.
Thank you.
Wow, tough day for Lyondike, Paul. He just says it's not safe to drive, and the team has put him on the sideline, and he agrees with it.
Good piece of sportsmanship by both he and the team crew. Now, speaking of speeds, fastest lap of the race has been turned by the leader of the race, Nigel Mansell. And there is Paul Tracy as he makes his move on the leader of the race. I was going to say Nigel's been running at 160 miles an hour, and so is Emerson Fittipaldi. Then Mansell's speed dropped off, and now Paul Tracy moves to the lead.
And again, we see Tracy runs right down low across that line. It doesn't seem to affect this Penske. Oh, look at the traffic jam here. Where's Mansell? There's Mansell on the outside.
It gives Mansell an advantage as he closes right back on Tracy's wing. Let's go to Jan Bikas.
Well, Paul, we talked earlier in the race about downforce. One thing that all the teams concede, the Lola teams, the Penske does have a little more downforce. That's why we're seeing Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi move up so quickly. The Penske chassis, a little more downforce. That's why they can run lower than the Lola. Paul?
Also, I spoke to Paul just before he jumped into the car. He said one of the reasons this car is so good over long periods, it does not wear its tires out as quickly as the Lola. That's why as these races progress, these Penskes come nearer and nearer to the front. And remember what we saw Penske or Tracy do at Phoenix? He was 2 laps clear of the whole field before he made that mistake with Jimmy Vasser.
Paul Tracy now threads his way through traffic as Nigel Mansell tries to catch up. This is the view from onboard Bobby Rahall's car. Let's take a look at that pass one more time as they worked their way around Danny Sullivan, and Paul Tracy just jumped up high and blew right past him.
Well, that is as definitive an outside move as I have seen for a long time. Mansell protected the inside line, and Tracy said, okay, I have grip down there, but the outside line was wide open, and in a flash, he had the lead.
And of course, in all of that, you saw that they were able to get around Mario Andretti, Nigel's teammate, who now runs in 10th place, Bobby Rahal, who now runs in 9th. All those cars are a lap behind the new leader of the race, Paul Tracy.
Now it's good. It's match. Oh, here, 3 wide again. One of the comments after last year's race was how easy it was to run 2 and sometimes 3 abreast, particularly into turns 3 and 4. That's what we saw right there. Cars in the middle, one goes low, one goes high.
Look at Robbie Gordon as he battles with the leader of the race. And now Paul Tracy is able to move away. Robbie Gordon, a lot of people wondering about what his future may be for next year. A.J. Foyt, the car owner, says, well, I've got an option on him for next year. I like what he does, and I think I'm going to exercise that option.
Robbie Gordon says he's not sure about that option. Micah Cranifer says he is definitely going after Robbie Gordon if he puts his complete new IndyCar package together, which in fact is not, I don't believe it's done yet.
We approach what the racers call the silly season. Actually, we've been full out in the silly season. It started about a month early, but mostly with conversation. It's like once the first seat becomes available, we're probably going to see people change everywhere. Now, Roberto Guerrero, who runs in 3rd place, he was able to get around Boisel and chases Nigel Mansell, who is in 2nd.
They had hoped in this Budweiser team that with the addition of Steve Newey, they could get this team to another level. Well, it seems to be working because Guerrero is more consistent now. He was actually fastest at one time in the sessions here on Saturday, and now showing during race conditions here that he's back up to his old form because Guerrero has won these 1-mile overs in the past. Look at this wheel to wheel, and he's on the line. Car must feel good.
Derek, what is it so special about people like Newey that they can suddenly get a team to come together and begin to perform?
Well, rapport is probably a word that covers a lot of areas, but rapport or understanding is Steve Newey knows what Guerrero is saying. He knows what he likes, and he can almost feel as if he's in the car himself. That is important because you can work out the problems that the car has without ever being in the car. And that's the important thing. The engineer has to be able to understand how to make these cars go faster, and then the job for the driver becomes easier.
Further update on Roberto. Here's Gary.
Here in his pits, Paul, on the wall, Joe Flynn calling the shots. John Dangler here as a partner to Kenny Bernstein. They love the way the car's handling. They do not plan any changes on the first pit stop. Remember, his best this year of 5th place early in the season at Long Beach. They think they've got a chance to be on the podium today. And if you're thinking podium, why not think about winning it? A lot of optimism here for Roberto Guerrero, one of the truly nice guys of this sport.
Paul Tracy continues the lead. 52 laps are now complete. The first pit stop should be about 13, 14 laps away. And at this speed, it'll come up quickly. We'll be back. On ESPN, don't forget the Senior PGA Tour, the Bank of Boston Senior Classic. That's coming up live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time today after the IndyCars here at the New England 200, where Paul Tracy is the leader of the race and working his way through traffic almost constantly now as the rest of the field is spread out. No one in direct contact with one another at the moment. Tracy is 2.5, nearly 3 seconds ahead of second place Nigel Mansell. There are only 5 cars on the leader lap. Paul Tracy, Mansell, Roberto Guerrero, Raul Boesel, and Emerson Fittipaldi. 54 laps are into the record book, now 55, and so we should be a little over 10 laps away from the first stop of the race. And running with only 1 yellow, we take a look at Raul Boesel trying to hold off a charging Emerson Fittipaldi, who has been steadily working his way up through the field and now begins to work on the 4th place car. Starts to the inside and just that easily has passed him. Using Sullivan as a bank shot to get down to the inside.
And it wasn't even a challenge because Emerson so easily went down the inside. But here we are now. Have a look at the telemetry here. And the first thing to look at is the throttle position. On the right side, he's on full power. Full power, and watch how much he comes off. Almost right off the throttle. Gets on the brakes. Now he plays with it. Look, dab. Couple of little dabs. As soon as he knows the car's straight, bang, straight back on. Now watch the speed. 166, 7, 8. A lot slower than they were in qualifying here. So you have RPM, speed, lateral G's. That's another very interesting thing to have on the race car. It gives you an idea of the physical forces on a driver.
As we take a look at this Chevy telemetry, look at the lateral G's increase. And it comes on very sudden as he turns into the corner and sustains all the way through that corner.
And of course, lateral G's, G's being gravity, the force of gravity. Lateral means sideways. Now watch the graph here. Look, goes up to 1, 1.5, 2 G's. That means twice the force of gravity, double your body weight is pulling you sideways as you go around the corner. That's why, of course, drivers have to use neck straps because their neck muscles are physically not strong enough to hold the head and their helmet up.
Marco Greco has given up the run as well as he pulled off the course and behind the wall. As we approach the pit stops, what's the strategy in, say, the Penske pits? Let's get an update from Jan Bikas.
Well, Paul, the strategy right now is to maintain the original strategy of going with a 2-stop race. If cars do not make it to lap 67, you cannot make this race in 2 stops. Both Emerson Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy are going to be on pit road on the very same lap. They're separated enough on the track, they think they can get away with it. Lap 67, Penske will be in. That means even if it's green, they can do it in only 2 stops. Paul?
That's 6 laps away as Paul Tracy. Now, is he perhaps on his way to a repeat of his performance at Phoenix, a race that would surely have been his had it not been for what appeared to most as a premature move on the slower car of Jimmy Vasser, where he ducked under the inside, lost the back end, and caught the wall. Emerson Fittipaldi now closing on Roberto Guerrero. There's Guerrero, the red and white car, just ahead.
Well, the Penske freight train in race conditions over these long runs is again proving to be much more superior than the Lolas. So Roberto Guerrero is going to have his hands absolutely full in about 1 lap. But I don't think it's going to be much of a challenge because Emerson has closed this gap incredibly in only about 2 or 3 laps. Watch what happens under, oh, look at this, acceleration out of the corner. Emerson is so much earlier on the power and blows by him. No contest.
There's Fittipaldi now into 3rd place as he has steadily fought his way up through the field. And look how fast he pulls away once he is around Roberto Guerrero. Again, echoing what Derek Daly suggested earlier, and that is that the Penske cars do not appear to use their tires nearly as much as the Lolas do. In fact, there's almost the appearance that the Penske cars get better the further they go.
They certainly get faster as the fuel load lightens. Now, the next one up the road, of course, is Nigel Mansell. There's Johansson moves aside, not happy with his Penske. It's exactly the same chassis as Emerson Fittipaldi is in, obviously with not the same setup.
Got an idea with the serial scoring graphic there of Fittipaldi's gradual move up through the field as he comes up to overhaul 8th place Bobby Rahal and put him yet another lap down. One car slides up to the wall, catches the wing, the yellow comes out.
David Coudrave loses it at turn 3 in the traffic jam and has a lazy slide up into the wall, breaks the rear suspension and the rear wing.
Now, what will they do with the pit stops? The leader's lap is 66. He could wait into this yellow and then head for the pits. It couldn't come better at a better time.
Well, this will open up the door for everybody to charge down the pit lane, and Mansell is one of the first one in the pit lane, and Gary Gerald is there.
Well, this is almost a blessing here. This yellow, it's perfectly timed. This team was going to wait until lap 72. That's the indication that they're getting excellent fuel mileage. So this is purely a routine stop. We don't expect any changes in the handling characteristics. Tom Wirtz holding Mansell, holding him. Now they're ready. Off the jacks, 14.4 seconds on our clock. Nice pit stop under yellow for the race leader.
Let's go to Jan Bikas.
Paul Tracy brings it to a stop. He locked up the brakes and slid a little bit past his marks. Right now, Roger Penske's on the radio telling him, hold the brakes, Paul, hold the brakes. That's one of the things the driver has to do. He also has to reset the dash. We're looking for changes on the car. We haven't seen anything. The car's in gear. We saw the wheels spin. Has to turn very hard around Rahal. He's underway.
From the overhead shot, you saw that when he got hard on the brakes, he was well past his stop marks, that T that is set in the pits. Now Mario Andretti, as they work on his car. Raul Boesel is in the pits too. He picked up the lead of the race, of course, when Tracy came in and Mansell came in.
And they adjusted those front wings on Boesel's car, so he is not happy with the handling. We got a report he did have understeer our push. They've obviously wound more downforce into that car to try and make those tires last for this second one.
I want to understand the strategy here now. Paul Tracy is the leader of the race. The question is whether or not, before we look at the crash, the question, Derek Daly, is why, if you were Roger Penske, and you know that a car is into the wall, there's debris out there, why wouldn't you just carry until the end of the yellow, since your car is so powerful anyway, and then stop him?
Well, sometimes it's just safer to bring him in early, because at the end of the yellow, if everybody waits, then you have a much bigger chance of actually making contact or having difficulty getting in and out of your pit lane. But Roger Penske very seldom makes mistakes in situations like this, and he will know that Coudrave's car is still against the wall.
All right, here is the situation that put David Coudrave into the wall. Just a quick little loss and up against the wall.
You see, he gets it sideways. That's Rahal we're looking from. It's a slow, lazy slide. He jumps on the brakes, but now he's out of the groove in the gray. No option but to just back it up. I don't think he hit the wall too hard, but he did break that right rear suspension as he walks away, having run in a very good 13th place.
So David Coudrave obviously okay, but terribly disappointed as he walks away from the New England 200, and under yellow, Nigel Mansell is back. Car safety team has cleared the David Coudrave car off of the race course. The PPG pace car makes its turn into the pits, and we go back to racing once again. Roberto Guerrero ducked into the pits just as the yellow came out, and as a result, he is sitting here out in front of the field in danger of being lapped by the leader of the race, Nigel Mansell. Guerrero runs in 5th place. Mansell, the leader, followed by Tracy, Fittipaldi, Boesel, and then Guerrero, owing to his position, is in peril.
Roberto Guerrero needs to run like a rocket here because he can get a lap down so easily. He needs a yellow, but it probably won't come. But again, you see how different a line Mansell takes. He's inside him here, and he's outside him down at 3 and 4.
Nigel works so gently with that car. Last week at the Michigan 500-2, he lost about 8 pounds during the run of the race to dehydration. Looked at him this morning, he still didn't look that strong.
And here's the two Penske's coming here. Look at this. Tracy is well able to let things settle down a little bit because he knows how good this car is relative to the Lolas after about 15 laps.
You got a glimpse of Mike Groff there coming out of the pits. He was in and out because of a stop-and-go penalty issued by the officials for pit speed violation. Pit speed limit here today is 80 miles an hour. You start inching much above that, get to 85, you're going to come in for a stop and go.
It's controversial, the rule, but it does work, and it is implemented because of safety reasons. They do not want to have crashes in this pit lane, and that's what they're trying to avoid.
The pit speed. Jan Bikas, you have an update?
Well, Paul, you're talking about 80 miles an hour, and then 85 is when they'll pull you in. They have a slightly different system here this weekend. They have 2 stationary guns, and then they have 3 people that are roving. In other words, they now all communicate by radio, and if you have one gun that's a little bit high on a driver, like one guy who runs 86, but all the other guns are okay, they're going to let that slide. It looks like Mike Groff was the only one to fall victim to that this time. Another quick note, they have tried laser guns, but it turns out that Indy cars don't get picked up on laser like our road cars, so they have to stick with radar. Paul?
Smaller fronter profile. While we have you, Jan Bikas, the radar guns themselves, they are recalibrated for these much higher speeds, are they not?
Well, they don't have to really recalibrate them, Paul, because they're only running 80 miles an hour in the pit lane. And another thing that Derek Daly can tell us about is that holding an Indy car at 80 miles an hour is a lot harder than holding your street car at 55. So they have them slightly tuned. Yes, Paul, remember, they're only running 80 in the pits.
Believe it or not, they have to practice running at 80 miles an hour because they can't run cars that slowly. Normally, what you do is you select a gear, maybe it's 2nd or 3rd gear, you pick the rev range that you know you're not above 80 miles an hour. And that's what you watch as you leave the pit lane because there are no speedometers on these cars.
I know an Indiana State Trooper that said you were practicing 80 miles an hour. Unfortunately, it was on an interstate, wasn't it?
No, it was in the pit lane.
Pit lane practice. Nigel Mansell leads it. Paul Tracy second, Fittipaldi third, but look at the Penske cars as they close down in an ongoing battle now for second place.
Fittipaldi is in a closer fight for this championship over Mansell. There has never been team orders here, but Paul Tracy, remember, could still win this championship if he throws another few wins together. He hasn't had the consistency. Boy, he has had the speed.
82nd lap now into the record book, 200 laps of scheduled distance. It's not a full 200 laps, 200 miles. It's actually a little further in distance, 211.6 miles. That's stretching the 2-stop race, but at the moment, owing to the yellow, the second one of the day that came out when David Kudrave hit the wall at just precisely the right time for all the pit stops, it should now be, without question, a 2-pit stop race. First one's already complete.
Look at this here, Paul. Look at this here. Fittipaldi is clearly faster than Tracy. There will be no challenge here. You can't jump your teammate. Here he goes.
So Fittipaldi moves into second place and now can set sights on Nigel Mansell. His only about 2 seconds ahead. We'll take a look at Nigel Mansell, who sits in the lead of the race. There he is. We'll look for the interval now. And there comes Fittipaldi and Tracy. So there is no cushion whatsoever between first and second. And Fittipaldi should gobble that up pretty quickly. Fittipaldi still running the fastest laps of the race at 164.7 miles an hour. Average speed of the race, 136.8, well over the record. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Paul, when we saw Emerson Fittipaldi move by Paul Tracy, it's because when they made their pit stops, they made no changes on Paul Tracy's car, but they changed the stagger, the rear stagger on Emerson Fittipaldi's car. That's what's brought him up to speed and able to run faster than he did previously. No changes on Tracy's. Paul?
So critical on a course like this, and boy, is it paying off for Emerson Fittipaldi. Look at him close down.
Inside
not
line.
just close down. Look at how he moves to the inside of Nigel Mansell. Mansell gets caught high behind Hiro Matsushita.
Oh, it's not over yet. Mansell still has, he has the advantage, stays on the high line, but Emerson has his number. Emerson knows he is much quicker than Mansell.
Fittipaldi got caught up by a slower car as well, and now Paul Tracy comes back to battle with Fittipaldi, but he'll get caught behind Matsushita.
First, second, and third, all in the line. The Penske's are faster, but Mansell is a great street fighter at trying to use traffic to his advantage. He did it just there.
Paul Tracy finally gets clear of Mashusta, moves down to the inside, and once again Nigel Mansell has to deal with some traffic ahead. We look back from Mansell.
Here's his nightmare. The Penske gets bigger and bigger in his mirror. There's traffic again. Look what happened here. Emerson got caught in traffic again and lost about 2 or 3 car lengths.
But every time Fittipaldi loses a little momentum, he is able to drive right back to the rear of Nigel Mansell's car.
Here's the inside line again. Look at this. He makes up 2 car lengths on that inside line all the time. That's Willie T. Ribs moves. No, he doesn't move. He stays to the outside. On an oval track, the faster drivers don't like to see you move around a lot. So if you are in the high line, they like you to stay there. And then the pass is up to them.
Now Paul Tracy has to deal with Willie T as well. He does so. First, second, and third are back in contention. Again, traffic ahead of the leader.
That's Guerrero now right ahead of Mansell. So Guerrero did manage to hang on.
Guerrero will not want to give up this position, though, because he is in position of being lapped, but he continues to hang out in front there, running in 5th place.
Here it is again. Look, you can see Emerson. He's down on that inside line, then he draws up 2 or 3 car lengths, but he's not close enough here to make a lunge down the inside. No, he has a little look, changes line, but knows he's not close enough.
Fight for the lead in the New England 200. Now you can see how close Fittipaldi truly is. That onboard camera tends to push the car following back just a little bit, but Fittipaldi is most definitely right there, and so for that matter is Paul Tracy.
And that's Guerrero right ahead of him. So Guerrero, I don't think, is going to make things easy. He will not move over to let Mansell by, because remember, that puts him another lap down.
And they all have traffic to handle just in front of them. Stefan Johansson now in front of Roberto Guerrero.
Oh, there's a big traffic jam now. Look at Guerrero. Mansell tries to come down the inside.
And here comes Tracy. Tracy comes up to challenge Fittipaldi on the outside. They split around a slower car. Tracy comes into 2nd place now. He dives for the lead alongside of Mansell. And Paul Tracy in a lap comes 3rd to the lead.
It's not over yet. Look at Mansell.
Tucks his nose in, moves to the inside. Again, Roberto Guerrero a factor. Paul Tracy maintains the higher crew.
Well, and one fell swoop. Oh, look at this, look at this. Emerson now tries to put a lap on Guerrero.
Tracy moves around Guerrero. Mansell still moving up high on him. Fittipaldi still close. There
is such close wheel-to-wheel racing. When you're lapping people here in ovals, you have to be so careful not to move offline. But Paul Tracy, such a decisive move to move past Fittipaldi and then slice past Mansell, gave him no recourse or no reason or no way to come back on him.
So Tracy assumes the lead of the race. Look at the crack in the lens on Nigel Mansell's car. You think it's not rough and dangerous out there? More than just other cars. New England 200, Nigel Mansell climbs all over the back end of Paul Tracy's car, trying to catch him. Paul Tracy having to deal with traffic just ahead at Stefan Johansson that he will have to battle. Johansson moves up high. Tracy comes down to the inside. Mansell tries to get past Johansson, and he can't do it.
Yeah, Fittipaldi got the bad run there. Mansell did get back by him, but how quickly the face of the race changes when you have traffic.
97 laps complete.
And that's a battle for position that they're passing. Mario Andretti and Scott Goodyear, who they're just about to come up behind, is also a battle for position on the track. That's 10th and 11th.
Paul Tracy now begins to pull away. Fittipaldi still the fastest car on the racetrack, and the race average coming up at 139 miles an hour. That's 6 miles an hour faster than the record set here last year by Bobby Rahal at 133 miles an hour. A tremendous battle at the front of the field, broken off for the moment. We take a look back to the pass.
And Tracy set it up when they were all in traffic. Here it is. He got past his teammate, He slices down the inside of Mansell, then goes inside Guerrero, and that's it. It was over.
And Mansell takes a chance, comes to the high side of Guerrero, nearly gets pinched up to the wall to continue his pursuit of Paul Tracy.
Now, Emerson, I think, is still in good shape because you mentioned the fastest lap. He is actually 2.7 miles an hour quicker than the next fastest man, which is his teammate, Paul Tracy. So Emerson comfortably fastest on the racetrack, so he can bide his time. He looks in very good shape.
And Mansell closes in a bit again.
This is a great fight. This is what Mansell likes. Hard, close racing where he has to fight hard. Mansell is a very physical driver in the car. Wrestles with the steering wheel, pushes the car all the time. Doesn't mind if it gets loose, quite confident that he can handle it. But this is the type of fight that he likes. And it's often the type of fight that he wins.
Mansell was 8/10 ahead at the line on the last lap. He is now closed 3.5 on that. It's just a tick over 4/10.
And it was like this before the last round of pit stops, and Mansell managed to get back into the lead. Maybe he's thinking of a similar move in the pits for the next stop.
Paul Tracy's been very competitive on the 1-mile ovals this year, but he's crashed while leading both at Phoenix and at Milwaukee. We asked Paul, did he learn from these experiences?
Well, I think so. You know, talking to Rick, and you know, he said you got to pay attention to all the details. And you know, in that race, I was coming up on guys and passing them so quickly that you know they didn't even know that I was there or that I was coming by. And you know, I think sure you got to get by people quickly. And that was one of the reasons why I got such a big lead. But you know, I think coming into this race, you got to take a look at guys and see how they're handling, and then make your move, because you don't know what's wrong with the guy or if he's got a handling problem. And majority of the time people don't see it because they're just trying to get around the track themselves. And I think that's one of the things I've learned and been able to practice on road courses, and you know, really pay attention to the details on the road courses coming up on guys, and that helped a lot.
Tracy seems a lot better balanced in figuring these races and staying with it. You got a glimpse of Johnny Unser there for a second as Tracy now comes around Mike Groff, who drives the second Rahal Hogan car. He's had an occasional ride in that, as he is the test driver this year. Johnny Unser, by the way, is Bobby and Al's nephew. So Paul Tracy is in front of the field, being chased by Nigel Mansell. Back at the New England 200 as Emerson Fittipaldi, car number 4, closes on Nigel Mansell, the red number 5. This is a battle developing for second place. Paul Tracy has been able to pull away from Nigel Mansell. Mansell had closed within 4/10, but now he's fallen back. He's 1.3 seconds behind the leader of the race, Paul Tracy, and being threatened somewhat by Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's go down to the pits, get an update on Danny Sullivan.
Well, Paul, Danny Sullivan has made an early exit to today's race, and he pulled straight back to the garage area. What happened?
Well, we just had terrible handling problems. We don't know what the car was, very, very loose, you know, just the back end wanting to slide around. We changed everything, lowered the car, tried everything we possibly could out in the pit lane and in the cockpit. Nothing mattered. We were just in everybody's way.
Thank you, Danny. Let's get back upstairs.
Nigel Mansell, second place. Now in a bit of a fight with Bobby Rahal. Rahal finally sees him there, moves to the high side.
It's
and
unusual.
in just those last few laps, he was able to clip off 5/10 off of Paul Tracy and is closing back in.
It's unusual that now we have seen 2 front runners come out with bad handling problems.
Mario Andretti comes into the pits. This is the 112th lap. Mario Andretti, only 41 laps since his last stop, so he needed some changes on that car. Mansell back up behind Mashusta. Fittipaldi closing once again. Boy, look at him make up distance there. Fittipaldi will have the benefit of passing Mashusta on the straightaway and close even further.
Now there's one more pit stop, so remember, this is a championship fight here, not just a race fight. So as this rolls on, I wonder Will Paul Tracy be allowed to keep station? Because remember, Mansell is 19 points ahead of Emerson in this championship fight. If there is team orders, it certainly won't play out until the next pit stop and let the race unfold first.
What do you think the chance of team orders are? You think they really would order that?
I can't see it. It's too early in the season because Paul Tracy could still win this championship. So I don't think he's far enough behind to say that you must step aside and help Emerson.
Yes, Tracy most definitely in the fight as well. The Valvoline race recap after 109 laps. 2 caution flags have come out. One for contact with the wall. That was David Kudrave. They've had 3 lead changes. Mansell and Tracy have been the battlers at the front of the field. Let's go pit side, Gary Gerald.
Paul, we're documenting what's going on with Mario Andretti on his first pit stop. They didn't like the way the car was handling, made a change. It did not improve. Dramatic wing changes on this second stop. Mario, remember, is in 4th place in the season points and right in the thick of the battle. He won on the mile at Phoenix, but boy, he has got a handful today. He's been struggling to stay in the top 12 or 13.
Now look at that interval change. Here comes Mansell closing in again while Fittipaldi closes in on him.
Well, Mansell just did the fastest lap that he has done in the race a couple of laps ago, 164 miles an hour average. That is only 0.7 of a mile an hour slower than Emerson. So Mansell is not in too much trouble out there. We saw them make that wing adjustment. He obviously likes it.
We talked at the start of the race about that battle for the engine supremacy. Well, there's Chevrolet in Tracy's car, Ford in Nigel Mansell's car. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, earlier you guys were talking about strategy, and Derek said that Emerson Fittipaldi seemed to have the fastest car on the racetrack. Emerson also thinks that's the case, and he is very much elected just to lay back a little bit and save his tires. He's letting Paul go up there and tussle with Mansell. He's just playing it very cagey. He knows he has the quickest car, and he's going to be all ready to pounce if he needs to.
Boy, there's the wisdom of a veteran.
And the last time he did exactly that on an oval track was the Indianapolis 500. And at the end of the day, he was running stronger than everybody and just blew everybody away.
Good maneuver. Put $1 million in his pocket. Look at Mansell. Mansell takes traffic. But Tracy handles it just as well, going to the high side. The view from 4th place, Raul Boisel.
How quickly things change. Mansell saw an opportunity in traffic, sliced down the inside, and then suddenly got boxed in, and Tracy went to the outside. Look at the traffic jam here.
Boisel loses it, backs it down, catches the wall. That brings out the yellow, of course. Everybody gets by safely thus far, but it closed up the front of the field.
Well, no, this is it. Look at this. Strategy played out here. The Penske cars are in.
Everybody onto pit road. Mansell in there as well. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
We wait for Nigel Mansell at this end of the pit. He's near pit out, Paul, yet to appear. Let's go to Jan Beekes at the Penske end.
Paul Tracy is in. They have made the changes. They have put on the tires. There have been no chassis changes. They have just filled it with fuel. And we see Emerson Fittipaldi behind him is now also just getting underway. Both Penske cars taking advantage of this yellow.
Mansell still sitting in the pits. Newman Haas team working on his car, and the stop going just a bit long. They struggle with the right front.
Now he's lost track position. On the last pit stop, he went from 2nd to 1st. 26 seconds it took for this stop. Now he's gone from 2nd down to 3rd.
Paul Tracy assumes the lead of the race. You saw Raul Boisel trying to drive his car back into the pits, but he'll only get it into the pits. I don't think you'll see any repairs on that car. Here it is again, Derek.
He was simply too high, got into the gray, lost control, a bit like Kudrave earlier, backs it in not too heavily, and he actually tries to drive that car off the racetrack. Here it is from the in-car. Watch the violence of the impact on his helmet. Look at him fight the wheel. Watch here. Watch his head. Boy, we said he hit it lightly.
No, I don't think so.
That might have been a heavier than we even anticipated.
But Raul Boisel is okay with a 13-second pit stop. Paul Tracy made it in and out of the pits and took the lead. We're under yellow. Look at it once again as he was running in traffic.
In a traffic jam, loses grip, doesn't manage to stop the car, and backs it in. Doesn't look that dramatic here, but this gives you an idea of what happens.
What that was like at somebody with one of those big home theaters and a giant speaker. A very expensive piece of noise. Paul Tracy should be coming back to a green flag in about a lap and a half. How will the strategy, the tactics play on this race now? 130 laps are complete. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Paul, talking about that pit fuel strategy, people had to come in and fill up with fuel in case this was a long yellow. But as you said, with a 1.5 laps to go, I don't think anybody can make it. If it would have stayed yellow to lap 135, I think they could have made it. It's unlikely it's going to be a 2-stop race. For all those people who came in, I really believe it's now a 3-stop race.
Jan, we'd have to agree, Jan, from this end of the pits, it looks like a 3-stop race. But one thing to keep in mind, Jim McGee, who is on the radio to Nigel Mansell, was planning their first stop at 72. Our first indication that they were getting terrific fuel mileage because we thought the window would be 65 to 67 laps. We asked McGee, how are you now? And he jokingly says, oh, we're okay, we can do it. Then he gave me the big wink. I agree with Jan. I think we're going to see a 3-stop race definitely here.
They come back to the green flag. Time will tell. 132nd lap as they come back to green from the 3rd yellow of the day, and already the challenge is mounted. Paul Tracy, of course, the leader as he comes around Mario Andretti. In second place is Fittipaldi. Tracy had a tremendous pit stop at 13.5 seconds, while Nigel Mansell, you see him back there alongside of Guerrero, had a 26-second stop. That was very costly for him. They all headed into the pits as soon as the yellow came out.
And at one time, Mansell thought that he was ahead of Paul Tracy when that crash happened. In fact, he really wasn't. Tracy was the leader, and Tracy went straight to the pit. It didn't make any difference because of that lengthy pit stop that he had.
Mario Andretti, they just overhauled, runs down in 15th position. Had handling problems early in the race. They haven't fully been able to correct that problem.
And as the race unfolds, the further back Nigel Mansell is, the easier it is for Roger Penske to make a decision on the championship and team orders. If Mansell is 3rd or 4th or further down, then there's no reason to even think about team orders and trying to help Emerson.
Of course, part of the question, too, as Mansell and Tracy battle, is who picks up that extra point for leading the most laps. The battle is between them right now. Raul Boesel will leave here with no points. He runs in 4th right now. He'll leave with 98, having earned none. Mario Andretti, if he stays in position, will also earn no points and remain in 5th place. There's still that 3-way battle between Mansell, Fittipaldi, and Tracy at the top of the points fight.
Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. embroiled in a battle here. They've been side by side for the last 2 laps. We picked them up here. Gordon just about gets the edge. He's running in 5th place. You can see that there. But Al Jr. relentless in race situations, having had a terrible weekend, qualifying way worse than he ever likes to do.
Stefan Johansson, Scott Goodyear, Scott Brayton. They all run together, though not in contest with one another.
Brayton running 6th. He qualified 7th, so he's running it right about where he qualified. You see Teo Fabi there. We haven't seen much for him. Mike Groff is there, right behind his boss, Bobby Rahal. Paul, that line has not actually worn away. Now, we saw that when we got here first this weekend. We've had Busch Grand National Cars race on it. We've had Support Series races, IndyCars practice, and it did not actually wear that away. I mean, really was a surprise to everybody here. Of course, we had no rain at all weekend to help the situation.
Hiro Matsushita, he runs in 16th place. As we take a look at the front of the field again, the battle in the Penske cars. They've changed the pronunciation again. They've given it to us 4 or 5 different ways. Now it seems that they have settled on Matsushita. They started the year with Matsushita.
But he is the Japanese driver.
Hiroyuki, by the way, his first name, not Hiro.
Hey, Hero's a perfect name for a racing driver.
So at the front of the field, the battle is still between the Penske cars, and Paul Tracy just put an extra lap on Nigel for the points. In the New England 200, the battle is for the lead, and Emerson Fittipaldi now looking at slower traffic of Hiro Matsushita. Moves up behind Paul Tracy. Nigel Mansell moves in from third place at the same time. That Mansell moves under Tracy. Moves under Fittipaldi as the yellow comes out.
Emerson looked to me to get awfully close. There's debris down inside
Mario.
turn one. Oh, debris, lots of it now. But Emerson looked very, very close to Matsushita as he made the pass there.
Mario and Scott Goodyear both against the wall. Scott Goodyear climbs out of the car. Mario stays in it.
Not enough room.
Damage to the right front wheel. The IndyCar safety crew already there.
Scott Goodyear looks back. Mario still in that car. I would have thought he would jump out of that as soon as possible. Sometimes you get dazed and it's much easier to catch your breath and sit there. Thankfully, we see him vacate the machine now.
Well, if what they were looking for was another yellow to get them to the finish of the race, here on the 145th lap, indeed it is yellow, as Mario Andretti and Scott Goodyear get together on the front straight. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Paul, a quick update as to whether we will see cars on pit road. We just heard from the Penske crew that they would not come in unless they had 5 laps of yellow. Well, now they have gotten exactly what they wanted, and that is there'll be at least 5 laps of yellow. What that means is they can make it all the way to the end of the race, but like you said, if Emerson Fittipaldi may have gone through some debris, do they risk it? Do they keep track position and keep him on the track, or do they bring him in and check the tires? That's got to be a really tough decision to make. So again, everybody should now be able to make it to the end on fuel economy, but do you check your tires or stay out?
I don't know that that's that hard a decision. Let's remember that Emerson Fittipaldi assumed the lead of the race on the mile at Phoenix after his teammate Paul Tracy caught the wall. And in doing so, he crashed as they came back to green. Now here is the yellow.
Watch how close this gets here. Emerson's wheel, look. Turns in, almost locks wheels with Matsushita, and then pulls away.
Very close indeed as they walk Mario back after that yellow flag comes out. That put both Mario Andretti and Scott Goodyear out of the fight. We'll be back. A full afternoon of racing now because of time constraints. We move ahead in the action in the New England 200, a battle in the IndyCars, both for the race and a battle for the championship. Back at the New England 200, 175 laps of 200 complete, and Nigel Mansell is on the move. He just moved around Emerson Fittipaldi. Now he sets his sights on Paul Tracy, and Paul Tracy is just a little under a straightaway ahead. And now they are in contact as he moves around Johansson. It is clear sailing up to Tracy. Here is the move that got Mansell into second place.
Now watch what happens here. Mansell goes down below the yellow line. Right there, he's on the pit road. Now he drifts high. Fittipaldi's stuck. Mansell has a head of steam on right here. He acts right up onto Fittipaldi's wing and slices down the inside into 3. A great move by Nigel Mansell.
He comes up high, keeps the car rolling. Still a cracked lens on his car, but the rest of the car running perfectly as he runs in second place, 1.3 seconds behind Paul Tracy. That's a little under a straightaway.
Tracy will be under pressure here. This is the type of situation that Tracy has faltered in the past. He has shown tremendous maturity, but the world champion is catching him and turning the pressure up.
Around Briard as they continue to work through traffic. Once again, a clear span between Nigel Mansell and Paul Tracy. And Mansell begins to reel him in. Now 0.7 of a second back.
You think that spurred Mansell on? Tracy goes around the outside of Greco. Mansell just did a lap of 164.5. He is now almost as quick as Fittipaldi for the fastest lap of the race.
Interval still at 0.7. And they pull away from Emerson Fittipaldi as the interval widens out there. 180 laps complete. 20 to go. Again, traffic a factor. Mansell moves in. Around Willie T. Ribbs. Back in contact with the leader.
This is what it's all about. The last lap, again, he was a little bit quicker than Paul Tracy. Now Paul Tracy throws one in a bit quicker than Mansell. So very evenly matched here.
They've been jogging back and forth at about 163.5 to 164.5 miles an hour. Both very evenly matched.
Might joke on the radio to his crew, but it's no joke now. But Roger Penske obviously staying in close contact through the radio with his driver. He called the shots for Paul Tracy.
Everybody was saying, take it easy, Paul. Don't lose your cool now.
He wasn't saying take it easy. He said, don't lose your cool, but don't let him by. Now it's Paul Tracy's turn to hold up the championship fight for his teammate Emerson.
Mansell down to 2/10. Jan Beekes, what is Roger saying?
Well, Paul, what he's saying is Paul, go ahead and put your car on full rich and put it in 5th gear. In other words, give it everything you have. We have enough fuel. Go for it. And we'll have to see if Mansell can stay with him.
The 5th gear reference is a gear with a little bit more torque.
Drops it down a gear, and he uses more revs. He moves the power band higher. More power, and you need more fuel to make more power. They seem to think they have enough. This, I bet looks like Mansell has probably done the same. This is a great fight.
Now traffic again. Mansell using a little higher line than Tracy. Around Fabi, closes on Groff. Tracy, no doubt, remembering at Phoenix when he had to get down underneath of Jimmy Vasser.
Look at this.
Mansell gets caught up in traffic. No, he comes up on the high side. But for the moment, the battle is broken off, and Paul Tracy is still the leader. New England 200, as Nigel Mansell now has to defend his position from Emerson Fittipaldi. He got slowed down as he moved into traffic with Teo Fabi and with Robbie Groff trying to catch the leader of the race, Paul Tracy. That cost him. He fell a 1.5 seconds behind Paul Tracy, and in doing so, it gave Fittipaldi the opportunity to close. Now all three run on the home straight together.
Oval track racing is so much about momentum. As soon as you get boxed in and have to come off the power, you lose that critical momentum. Suddenly, Mansell went from challenging from the lead to defending his 2nd place from Emerson Fittipaldi. Oh, look at this. Tracy around the outside of Ray Hall.
And encounters Scott Brayton running a little slower just ahead. Brayton locked in with Mashusta. And he's passed, so is Mansell.
Oh, but look at this now. Mansell is right behind him. There's Ray. Oh, he gets so close. Had to back right off or he would have hit Nigel Mansell.
Brayton runs in 6th place. Guerrero is 4th. Gordon is 5th. 10 laps to go now. That's at the front, and now here comes Mansell making a bid as he blocks Tracy up in behind Scott Brayton, and he gets beside him, he gets alongside, but now Brayton comes down and Tracy regains the lead.
This is oval track racing at its best. Mansell tried to use the traffic, almost pulled it off, but Tracy saw where his opportunity was going to come around the outside of Brayton. Mansell now loses the toe.
Battle broken off again, but Mansell has proven several times now that he is capable of moving in.
We have more traffic coming up. Paul Tracy is about to get up behind Alonso Jr. and Willie T. Ribbs, so there is more traffic going to play a hand in this lead battle.
So Nigel Mansell continues his pursuit and tries to close on Tracy. We'll be right back. We're back at the New England 200 as Paul Tracy continues to hold off Nigel Mansell. Emerson Fittipaldi waits and watches in 3rd place, about 2 seconds back.
Al Jr. needs to stay high. He needs to stay high. He does. Both of them get down the inside. There's more traffic, though. Brian Till is now just ahead of this lead pair.
Fight for the lead continues. Fight for championship points. A fight that can move Paul Tracy into third place in the championship points battle.
The pressure is on. The pressure is on Paul Tracy. This will be his finest win, probably because of the relentless pressure from Nigel Mansell. He still chases him down.
He has 5 laps to chase him down and pass. What a 40th birthday present this would be for Nigel Mansell. His second oval win, a continuing lead in the points. He'll leave here with a point lead no matter what happens.
Look at this. Tracy protects that line. Mansell is right behind him again. Look at this.
And Mansell swings to the outside. Tracy down low. They dart in and out. They use the advantage of Stefan Johansson, and Mansell takes the lead.
Now Tracy's in trouble because he has to make all the risky moves now. Mansell gets caught just a little bit. Tracy's going to get a run on Mansell. He'll block him.
Tracy makes his move to the outside. Very close together they come as they head down into the first turn. But Tracy stays in second place.
Tracy seems to have more grip on the inside groove down here at turns 3 and 4.
Tracy again looking for an opportunity. There's not that much time left, just 2 laps to go.
Well, if Mansell pulls this off, it will be a tremendous victory. By far his best yet, because he outboxed everybody, waited for all that time before he pounced, and Emerson is not a factor.
Moving for the final lap now. Traffic moves out of the way. Tracy tries to close. Mansell runs flat out into the first corner. No traffic ahead. He pulls away from Tracy, going through the second corner on the backstretch now. Heading for the third turn. Nigel Mansell makes the turn in. Tracy has little or no opportunity at this point. And here he comes. Happy 40th birthday, Nigel Mansell.
That was as good closing 20 laps on an oval track race as I have seen. Congratulations to Mansell. A tremendous battle with Paul Tracy.
And you can see that those two definitely enjoyed it as they wave to one another, and Mansell scores his 3rd straight oval win. Nigel Mansell takes the win here in New England. So the Redcoats have come back and they've won.
And they did win, and it looked to me as if the Penske had the measure of it, but Mansell waited and waited. He was absolutely relentless, and he pulled off the classic move right at the right time at the end of the race. Congratulations, what a great birthday present.
Gary Gerald is down in the Newman Haas pits.
Jim McGee, a week ago we talked to you at this point after the Michigan 500, but this has to be maybe one of the most exciting mile races we have ever seen.
And me too. I mean, he's amazing. I mean, he can just pick the car up and carry it when he has to. And, you know, I got to give hats off to our crew and the Texaco and the Kmart people. And Nigel is just doing a fantastic job. And he really loves it here. He enjoys the racing. I mean, he was really looking forward to this dice the last 50 laps. And, you know, certainly I think he gave the fans their money's worth.
Congratulations. I think it's something like Indy win number 79 for Jim McGee.
Well, great. Appreciate it. But it's the team. Great team.
Paul?
You know, a good area for it to come. Jim McGee comes from this area of the country. All of his old friends happy to see him up here. Look how happy Mansell is as the team all runs over to congratulate him. He hugs every one of them. He appreciates the good work that they do. Paul Tracy almost had it. So very close. Still in the points fight. So Nigel Mansell with the whole family here celebrates his 40th birthday with a win on the mile oval at New Hampshire. We'll be back to talk with our new winner and continuing points leader right after these messages. Up at the top 6 at the conclusion of the New England 200. And then there is the points fight itself as Paul Tracy moves up by 2 positions. So the next race is Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the Indy cars in 2 weeks as ESPN takes you to the IndyCar Championship. So long